But something I've always kind of heard is what, half full beers and leave them in the garden in certain spots, and the slugs will go trying to, they'll be attracted to the yeast in the beer, but once they basically go in, they'll get drunk, fall in, and drown. You know, I guess they'll go down, try and get drunk, be so drunk they can't really do anything, fall themselves in the liquid, and then just kind of die. That's something I've always heard. Yeah, slug damage, but I definitely got that like 2 or 3 years in a row. And that is, I guess, the balance between trying to have a cover crop, which you want the whole humidity, like really hold moisture in the soil, but also I guess it leaks out in the daytime, gets to the leaves, and those are the ones that are susceptible to being chomped on, or slugs have the ability to just kind of slide on without it being any kind of problem, without them wasting any effort. Because I know, yeah, when it rains or it's very humid or foggy, they can kind of go all the way up to the side of the house. We had a real slug problem, so I really don't know what happened. Oh, my son's playing basketball. Oh, I was like, hold on. I thought he was gone. Oh, no, that was yesterday. He went to the pool. My bad. Okay, yeah. Sea salt, like you could use that if you don't want. Iodine salt, like, will kind of be toxic to the soil, but you can use sea salt. It'll be the same effect, but it won't be as bad on your soil. Kind of main reason they ask us to take sea salt, it's not as harsh as the iodized salt, but you can kind of use that in the mulch bed. That and diatomaceous earth, I would kind of use a mixture of that, and I think that would help your slug problem out. Come on, man. It is that time. Like, I've noticed this is what, year number 3 with those white lantern flies. And I've noticed a couple, like the first year they were here, they were like swarming. You know, it would be so thick, it would be stacked over top of each other, like 9 or 10 of them. Kind of spraying water or spraying pesticide, neem oil, all that stuff. Kind of seems to just get rid of them. Just them being bothered will make them not want to stay there. Year number 2 was about half as bad. This year I've seen like 1 or 2 just period in my backyard. So I don't know if it's because at the end of the street, it was all woods, and with the last 2 years, they basically have been constructing it to put houses on, and maybe any kind of moisture or bed or home that they had is gone, and slowly but surely that has dwindled their numbers. I don't know if it's anything I did. I'm really not sure. But I do know last year was very, okay, this give me a headache. Man, the hat gave me a headache. My drinking headband gave me a headache. But yeah, I don't, it has been very dry, so I don't know if the heat has dwindled their numbers too. Yeah, I can't call it. But I would definitely recommend in the mulch beds. I have done this myself just because of having an ant problem. And like you said, slugs being in there. Anytime you kick anything, it'll be like baby slugs stuck under there. Any kind of wood. That'll hold moisture after rain. So try the sea salt thing. You can pretty much spray that pretty liberally. It won't do as much damage as regular table salt. And the diatomaceous earth, I believe it's pretty, I don't know now. I inherited a 50-pound bag of it. It's probably about 35 pounds of it now, but I came into one. I have no idea what the cost would be to buy one now, but that's one of those things that really don't go away. The bag is probably like 10 years old that I'm working with, and it's still very effective. We notice anytime that it rains, this year, when it's rained, ants have actually tried to come in the house. We've put diatomaceous earth down as a border, and whenever they come in to kind of get rid of them, and it's very effective. We haven't had that problem the last 2 rains, so it must have worked. We must have somehow dwindled their numbers. So I just constantly, weekly, every 2-3 days, go out there, and when it's dry, puff some diatomaceous earth out there. That should help with everything. So let me cue up this video. That's what I was trying to do. My bad. I kind of got sidetracked and drunk tracked like a doofus. So we did something that was a pretty interesting story. I guess I'm gonna keep it funny one more time, and then I did find something educational. This is for I have a video for Wild Bill. Where is it? The guy, it's something something guy green, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, I wanted to be funny, not educational all the way. I got some cartoons. I got some others. Okay, we can react to this. That's cool. Listening to some crazy edible stories. Oh, dude chased by a wild pig on edibles. Oh my goodness. Oh, that should be entertaining, baby. Looks like it's the same story person we've seen before. So I'm pretty curious about this video, actually. Okay, we don't need because we ain't really gonna be seeing shit. Yeah, okay, cool. All queued up. So, yeah, the video I have is, I guess it's a retelling, a story of someone being chased by wild pigs on edibles. This should be interesting. I guess if your dog got sprayed by a skunk and you had to pull porcupine quills out of it, being chased by a wild pig or a wild boar or whatever, should be right up your alley. And then, yeah, Growing with Guy Green. That was the video I had. That was for Wild Bill. I believe you used that. I forget if it's veg or flour, but I do know of the Guy Green. That's something that you stand by, and you have some pretty great results. I never showed the pictures that I had set up to kind of feature you that day, but I did figure out how to do it. I can show a few of them real quick. Real quick before we go into the edible video, if you want the crazy story of being on edibles. Oh, you awake? Hey, little baby. Yeah, my iguana escaped and was lost. I gave up. I couldn't find her for 2 weeks. And the tree fell down. And my neighbor said, yeah, when they cut it down, they found the iguana in his backyard and like up in a tree. So I found him. Once he told me that, I came home from work, went in my neighbor's backyard. I had to search for a while, but yep, sure enough, he was up there. And I was like, how am I going to get this dude? Am I going to have to get a ladder to go get him? He's just going to like jump down and run, and it's going to be impossible to catch him when he's like on the ground. So luckily, I was able to jump up and pull the branch he was on and like pull it down, like the catapult, the cartoon, pew, let it go and he go flying. But no, I didn't know. I was able to pull it down and like pull my hand out. No, he didn't come to me. He actually went the other way, climbed up the branch once it got too low. It was more of a balance thing more than me trying to mess with it. I can totally understand. I totally messed with the equilibrium of the branch he was on, and I know it felt like he was falling. He don't know. So it went down, got on the ground, and ran. I was like, oh, shh. But luckily, it actually got caught in the fence that got took down by the tree that fell down and broke down our chain link fence. And it's like neck kind of got caught in the link. So I had to basically rescue it out of it. And he was cool. I was able to pick him up. I held him for like a half hour. Tried to feed him. Didn't really want no food, but he was chilling. He didn't move. I was petting him. I took him back into the garage and tried to put him on his heat rock like nothing had ever happened. And he took off and jumped down and hid from me. So he's back to normal. It's been about 3 days and I hear him moving. I'm like, okay. Are you trying to get in the shot? He knows I'm live. Yeah, he knows I'm recording something and I hear him. So I'm happy he's back. I thought he was gone. I gave up. I unplugged everything. I thought it was no hope. I was sad. But he's back, and he finally remembered me. I was able to feed him by hand 3 times since I got him. And so he's cool, he's happy, he's got to gain some weight. It must have been rough out there. It rained like 4 times out there. Poor little thingy. A couple of your plants are unhappy, Stephen. A lot of my plants are unhappy. I transplanted from, so last year I grew the original haze and I grew the dieselberry, as I call it. It was the OG Kush and strawberry haze first breed that I did, and kind of started all the others like the octane haze and all that crap. Heavenly haze. The I took a clone of them last summer, put them in a tent. I was struggle growing in the tent. It was like fine, then it got bad. Fine, then it got bad. Anyway, I brought them out this year. I brought them out about 3-4 weeks ago outside. The original haze has acclimated to the transplant. It's growing, it's flourishing. The dieselberry has acclimated, but it is not flourishing at all. So I can understand what you mean about, yeah, the plants aren't happy. I've tried lactobacillus, I've tried brown rice vinegar, I've tried mycorrhizine, I've tried BioLive, and it still won't shed like the yellow leaves that it had from being inside, the same way that the original haze has. Now I do understand I have it in a separate, they're in different portions, and pretty much where the original haze is growing is a pretty good spot for growing. I've grown about 4 or 5 plants in that spot, and I'm pretty sure the soil is like acclimated to different things. I've had a lot of the potatoes are growing there, so that's a good section. The main 6x6 section I grow the plants, that's a good section. It doesn't take much for the plants to get acclimated and ready to grow, and I've had no problems there. When you get to the front of the garden, that's where I have more of the problems. The dieselberry didn't get big last year. The octane haze didn't really get as big as I expected it to last year. That was more like an autoflower more than a fem. Even though I do expect it to be short, I expect it to grow about 4 feet and finish. Be at harvest, it will be 4 feet tall. Last year, I think maybe it was 2 feet tall, maybe 30 inches tall tops. When I harvested it, it was only about a 2.5 ounce yield, so it seemed more like an autoflower to me, and that's because the spot I had that at. I'm noticing that now. I have 3 original haze clones from the plant that's out there now. 2 of them are really acclimated and they're growing pretty well. The one that's more towards the front is not doing well. It's the same day it was when I transplanted. It is not acclimating at all, which is fine, because I might be outgrowing myself yet again and be in harvest jail for 2 months. So let's go ahead and get into this video, man. Let's keep everything rolling. Let's keep it going. Let's hear this thing, baby. Enjoying myself. I hope y'all are enjoying yourself. I definitely am. I'm having too much fun, Charlie Murphy. And I'm just getting started. Okay, yeah, we watched him before. We watched like 4 or 5 stories of being on edibles for the first time. More trippiness.
Unlike most of the stories here, we weren't on some crazy drugs. We had just done some weed edibles and smoked a joint in the night. To the story. I live in South Africa, and wild animals are no rare sight for me, as going hunting and game driving happen often. My friend, who we will call Hugh, invited me away to a place called Cape Vidal. It's a really remote game reserve that has a coastline. We were staying in cabins about 200 meters from the beach. The area is amazing, and even when I was sober, walking through the pine forest towards the beach felt like a fairy tale. At night, fireflies would light the way by the hundreds, and the trees looked as if they were all one collective organism. We were staying there for about a week, and on the 3rd night, we met up with a family friend of Hugh's, who we'll call Eric. Him and his 2 sisters were staying in a cabin pretty close to us. We decided to play Kings, a drinking game, with the 4 of us just for fun and see where the night went. We did eventually run out of alcohol, and us 3 boys decided to see what else we could get up to. We went over to Eric's cabin and saw the parents sitting in the living room. They were all really still and playing some 80s rock or something. They were also laughing, and we just figured they were on some kind of drug. It was their holiday too anyway. We went to Eric's room for a bit, and then proceeded to check if there was any alcohol left in Eric's fridge. To our dismay, it was all gone. But before we could leave, Hugh's mom offered us some chocolate cakes, which were probably the edibles. She didn't really specify what they were, but she gave them to us with an innocent grin on her face and chuckled a little bit. The other parents also laughed. We ate them without hesitation, and then proceeded to go back to Hugh's house. Hugh said he had brought a joint, and so we decided to go smoke it. We were walking along a road that took us to a fish gutting station, where the fishermen of the area could gut the fish and wash them. This place was just under a small hill which had the sea on the other side of it. We were standing around for a while, and then decided to light the joint. I think I took the first hit and started it up for us. It was pretty old and had apparently been in his pocket for like a month. We each got about 4 big pulls in and held our breath on each one to get a better high.
Okay.
We immediately started talking and making jokes. We started checking out the fish gutting station, which was really just a few smooth concrete blocks at waist height with taps at the side. I felt sorry for the fish that got gutted here and got me thinking about how cruel we are to animals. But my thoughts were
Thank you, Steven. I enjoy hanging out too.
We all immediately pulled out our phones and checked what it was. When another rustle came, we all jumped onto the concrete blocks and looked around. As Hugh shined his light onto the floor just below him, he saw a bush pig staring back at him. He screamed, and we all screamed. The pig did as well and ran away. This was the first of 2 pig encounters of the night.
What?
Our hearts were racing, and once we had made sure it was gone, I jumped down first to lead the way up the hill. This is when I think the edibles kicked in. We looked at the ocean and all decided to run to it. We were just running and laughing, and the thought of the pig left our minds.
Okay.
We took some photos of crabs we had caught and laid down and watched the stars. We spent about an hour down there and then decided to go home. The walk back was nice. The fairy tale woods came to life even more, and the fireflies seemed magical.
Okay.
We were all talking and laughing, but things started to get a little crazy for me. My throat started to hurt from all the screaming and shouting. We were about 100 meters from Eric's cabin, where I could tell we were high as fuck and needed to compose ourselves in front of the parents. I kind of shouted at them to stop for a second and told them to breathe. We all took 3 breaths in and exhaled. We immediately felt calmer, and they both started thanking me, which was funny. I felt confident, like I was about to walk into a stage or something and do a performance. We were strutting along when we saw the parents leaning over the wooden deck of their cabin. They were all peering over the edge looking at something.
So hold on. He felt like a rock star, and the other 2 people were like paranoid and like freaking out, having like major anxiety. Oh, okay. I maybe the light was too much for him, so he came down from where he was. I know he's full. I've been trying to stuff him full of lettuce. I just bought a new fresh head of romaine lettuce, and I've been feeding him nonstop, 2 leaves at a time. Trying to get his moisture and vitamins back up. He hasn't gone for his dry food yet, but yeah, I think he just wants to get on my face.
At first I thought they were angry at us and knew we were high, which didn't make any sense because they gave us the edibles.
Okay.
But then, as we came around the corner where a bench was blocking our view of what they were looking at, we saw a giant bush pig with white fur all over its face and giant tusks.
Oh shit.
It hadn't seen us yet, but the parents said hello, and the pig looked at us. The parents said casually, "This one bites." We all froze, and I was in front of the other 2. I said, "Don't move, or it'll
What's
chase
he mean
you,"
by that?
remembering the scene from Jurassic Park. And as I said that, the pig grunted and lowered its head into a charging position. I just thought, oh shit, here we go.
Oh my goodness gracious. That would have to be the worst thing I can think of to happen while I'm on edibles. Like a wild animal that wants to fight. I'm trying to relax. You trying to be territorial here. What the heck?
And the 3 of us split up in opposite directions. Hugh ran for the deck to try to get to the high ground, and Eric ran for a dustbin which he could stand on. I stayed
Good,
still
cool.
and watched it go in a circle after Hugh, and then Eric, and then me. Realizing this, I just ran in the direction of our cabin. I was barefoot and sprinted through the bushes. I could hear the pig running behind me over the thick leaves. I didn't stop for a second. I was screaming all the way, and I thought that if this thing got me, I would most certainly be killed. I felt thorns going into my feet, and branches were smacking me in the face. I can't remember much of that moment, but I remember tripping on a root and hitting my head on the ground. Hugh's parents were on the deck of our house and were obviously startled by my screaming. They asked what was wrong, and once I made it up the stairs on all fours, I tried to explain, but I was breathing so heavily that the only word I could get out was, "Pig." Eventually, I calmed down, and Hugh came down
he was done.
He and Eric thought I had been killed, and Eric went to bed thinking I had died. It was definitely the closest I felt to death or serious injury, but we then explained everything to the parents and went to bed after a cup of tea.
Now, the thing about this, I understand these things might actually happen, you know, if you break down what really happens in wild incidences. Sometimes they do end anticlimactic. But I always wonder when I listen to these type of stories, are these even real, or is this just somebody, you know, winging it, making it up as they go along?
Alright, well, whatever the fuck that was is over now. That was a story, alright. I don't know if South Africa is just like, does that happen normally over there where people get chased by pigs? I mean, I don't know. South Africa is pretty far away.
Oh, I didn't know this
from
was South
America,
Africa.
so I don't know. I know bush pigs can be very dangerous, but like...
All pigs, like razorbacks or whatever. Wild boars were like one of the #1 fatalities for moonshiners back in the day. Because they basically, I guess, the tusk runs up against you and like cuts your skin and you bleed out. And I guess the razorbacks, they got some sharp, spiky backs. I guess like quills almost. It'll cut you open, so you pretty much have to kill them because they're very territorial animals. So it's interesting that he's saying this. I guess that's just a trait. He's having the same problem in South Africa.
I'm not used to seeing those in Ohio. So the only pigs we see are pigs on farms, and they're the cutest little things on the planet. But these ones are vicious. I mean, if you look,
I guess they're wild counterparts.
They'll scare you. I wouldn't want to come across one of these pigs, that's for sure. Especially after being on edibles. Like me, I'm
exactly
paranoid on weed. I take a couple hits.
I don't.
Panic attack. It just exemplifies my anxiety even more than it already is. So edibles are a no-no for me anymore. That is just too much. I can't imagine being chased by a bush pig while on edibles.
What?
I would probably die, not even from the pig, but I would die from having a heart attack. But after reading that story, I just got like one question to ask about this person.
I'm curious.
So he felt like he almost died, and his friends were like running away. And they got away, of course, because they ended up at the cabin. But they just went inside and slept and didn't look for him, like, to be okay. He's like, oh, I thought you died. Like, that's how I picture that going on. Like,
Okay, I picture it the opposite way. I picture it that they stayed up and eventually fell asleep. That's why sometimes things are anticlimactic, and I get it. There's only so long you can really wait for a person, I guess. And I'm believing they're going by the strategy of don't go out there. So if they can't go out there and it's dark, there's really not much they can do.
Is that I don't know what kind of friends are those to have,
but he does have a point.
There, buddy.
Some Shanquilla Jackson
tell
stuff.
You what kind of friends you should or shouldn't have, but I don't know. If one of my friends thought I was gonna die and
take you to Mexico and beat you to death,
that wouldn't sit well with me. That's just me, though. I don't know about you guys, but that just made me feel a little weird reading that. While I was editing, I was just like,
okay, so he's just going on. And that was interesting, though. That was a crazy story. I thought it was going to be the whole entire video. I didn't know he was going to pose some questions and do his little commentary on it. But so they in South Africa off edibles with the wild boars running around. Yeah, I'd have to say that had to be one of the worst experiences that I can imagine. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I would want it to be the most fluffy and tranquil experience you can imagine, being in another country and being off of edibles. Yeah, it's almost like an acid trip in a way. You don't want to upset the host. So let me go in. We can go into something educational now. What did I promise? The guy at green crap. So I'm gonna go. Oh shoot! Crap. Oh, no wonder. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So my fault. I didn't have it in the correct window.